Good evening. My name is Jane Appleyard, and I'm the president of the McCaskey Alumni Association Advisory Board and a proud member of McCaskey Class of 1962. Welcome to the virtual edition of the 2021 Distinguished Alumni Awards. As a COVID-19 precaution, the in-person ceremony has been postponed until the spring. Our advisory board will be looking at dates and should have a new date for the spring soon. If you received an invitation to the postponed event, you will also receive an invitation to the spring. In the meantime, if you keep in touch with McCaskeyAlumni.org or McCaskey Alumni Association social media, we'll have that date for you posted there. In the meantime, we would love it if you would pay a visit to the McCaskeyAlumni.org and become a member of the McCaskey Alumni Association for only $25. Members receive our biannual publication, The Alumni Vedette, which keeps McCaskey graduates in the loop about the endeavors of McCaskey students past and present. The McCaskey Alumni Association makes an impact on the school district of Lancaster because it is an autonomous subdivision of the Lancaster Education Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to increasing and supporting education excellence in the school district of Lancaster. The Lancaster Education Foundation and the McCaskey Alumni Association are currently working together on a very exciting program, Hooked on Books, which provides every second grader in the district with a new book every month during the school year. Alumni have also been a bedrock of support for LEF's Adopt the Classroom program. This program is an opportunity for individuals, businesses, or groups to contribute $250 or more to adopt the district classroom. The $250 is given to a teacher to purchase items needed to enrich the classroom environment. The donor has the option of selecting a specific classroom or a certain age group. Visit, please, LancasterEducationFoundation.com to learn about LEF's programs and to make a donation. For joining forces with us through the scheduling and rescheduling of this event, I would like to thank Campus Principal Justin Reese and his administration, as well as our wonderful caterer, Oliver Say, class of 1993. We're sorry, Oliver, that our viewers tonight won't be able to experience your delicious food, but they and we look forward to our banquet in the spring. At this time, I would like to introduce our MC for the evening from the class of 2000, Jeremiah Miller.
Thank you, Jane. I'd like at this time to have a moment of silence for each of the individuals who have won the Distinguished Alumni Award and who we lost since our last award ceremony in 2019. Dr. Paul H. Ripple, class of 1940. Robert DeMora, class of 1953. Joseph P. Nolt, class of 1955. Ronald Berger, class of 1966. Leon Buddy Glover, class of 1967. And now to our purpose here this evening. Each year when it's time to honor 5 new Distinguished Alumni Award recipients, I always notice the common theme that each new group shares. This year's group of distinguished alumni could be called trailblazers. The work of each of these recipients has cleared a path of opportunity for others. They include an entrepreneur and motivational speaker whose mission is to build opportunities for women of color, a nonprofit executive committed to ushering young people into positions of leadership, a criminal justice leader who has championed a society re-entry roadmap to success for prison inmates, a hospital administrator who has given the gift of health care to challenged nations, and a prolific filmmaker who pioneered a brand new medium called television. We thank them for their inspiring stories, which will be shared tonight with McCaskey students, past, present, and future. Our first award presenter this evening was a McCaskey math teacher for 30 years. Involved with the McCaskey Alumni Association for many years, she was instrumental in the founding of the Museum School at Carter and McRae Elementary School, which offers second and third graders a field trip back in time to the 19th century one-room schoolhouse. More recently, she and her husband Ron generously donated the funds that purchased the McCaskey campus's digital marquee. From the class of 1956, I now welcome Jo Stokes.
Good evening, and welcome to everyone who has joined us to honor these 5 McCaskey alumni as they are recognized as Distinguished Alumni. Tonight's first award recipient was a student of mine, Quinn Conyers. Remembering her as fondly as I do, it put a big smile on my face to hear that she had been selected for this award. Today, Quinn Conyers trains women in business on how to make their voice heard in their career or business so they can sit on any table with confidence. She has over 16 years of professional speaking, event hosting, and training experience. While at McCaskey, she played field hockey, basketball, and she ran track. Academically, she flourished and was a member of the honor roll from her freshman to senior year. Even back then, I was aware of Quinn's special assets. She was courteous, curious, serious about her studies, outgoing, kind to fellow students, and yes, talkative. Quinn is the author of 2 books about public speaking, which are available online at Target, Amazon, and Barnes & Noble. Quinn has made it to the 2nd round of Shark Tank, auditions 4 times, been featured on the Entrepreneur's Elevator Pitch TV show, as well as Essence, Black Enterprise, and Young Money magazines. She has also been on the cover of Vision and Purpose and Empowering Women to Speak Out magazines. Quinn has made a living and is leaving a legacy leveraging her voice as full-time speaker. Quinn has spoken for major companies such as Nike, Visa, and National Association of Women Business Owners, and so many more. Quinn sits on the board of Better Business Bureau and Global Black Women Chamber of Commerce. She has taught speech communications for 5 years at Copen State University in Baltimore, earned a bachelor's degree from Westchester University, and a master's from Howard University in Washington, D.C. It is my honor to present the first award of the night to Quinn Connors, class of 2001. Congratulations, Quinn. She comes to us now from Baltimore.
In 1982, my mother, who was known at that time as Angela Conyers, was 15 years old and she was a McCaskey student. Little did I know that she would have what I call one of her McCaskey moments before I think she was ready. She found out that she was pregnant. And in my opinion, that is when she had a pivotal choice to make. She could have imagined that would I be a mother or should I maybe not go through with this pregnancy? And she decided to keep me. And in my opinion, that was the McCaskey moment that she had no idea will have a trickle down effect and become a legacy. My name is Quinn Conyers, and I am so honored and proud to accept this 2021 Distinguished Alumni Award, especially because I myself followed in my mother's footsteps and also graduated from McCaskey High School in 2001. But there were a couple of things that I did differently from her. Taking back to her McCaskey moment, she had a decision to make. She decided at 15 years old as a student at McCaskey that she was going to be a mother. Now I can only imagine all the things that went through her mind on now becoming a parent, but really being a baby herself. I could imagine the fear, the frustration, the judgment that she would face as a young Black woman attending high school in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. But her McCaskey moment was bigger than her, and it affects me to this day. Now, when I think about that, I think about how she even thought about that process as a high school student. I remember her telling me that she was watching the soap operas and there was a Black woman on there that was a feature. Now, I don't know if it was Young and the Restless, but she loved the name so much that that's how I got my name. And I realized that all through her life, she had a defining McCaskey moment. And when I got to McCaskey, I wondered, would I have a defining moment? Now, according to statistics, I probably would have repeated what she did and became a teenage parent, but that wasn't my story. But I'm glad she was able to hold her head high, graduate on time, and still have me at her hip. Now, it's interesting because when I did get there, I knew that I was destined for greatness, even though I had a big personality from a small city, but I didn't know what my McCaskey moment would be, and I was looking for it. Now, I played sports. Basketball, field hockey, I ran track. And to be honest with you, I wasn't that good at any of those. And I knew that that wasn't my McCaskey moment, but I was determined to find it. You know, I also was excelling academically. So not only was I an athlete, I literally was on the honor roll. And I thought that maybe when I got that GPA and it was over a 3.5, I can't remember, it's been years ago. I graduated in 2001, right? And I thought, well, maybe that would be my McCaskey moment, going to the college that I always wanted to go to, or stepping out and leaving Lancaster to see what the world offered. But that still didn't feel like my McCaskey moment. So I thought that it was over. I thought that it was a time that I spent in high school and it was amazing, but that was it. Just maybe going through McCaskey, going off to college, writing a couple of books, teaching, and that was what it was supposed to be. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I have been truly blessed in my life. I have done a lot of things since I left McCaskey High School back in 2001. I've written 2 books. I've been on a cover of 2 magazines. I've taught at Coppin State University as a professor. I have coached people. I have been in magazines, featured on television. But when I got that call, when I got that email from Jeremiah saying that I was selected as one of the 2021 Distinguished Alumni, I knew in that moment that that was my McCaskey moment. I didn't know that it would come 20 years after I graduated. But what I did know that I felt good. I felt proud, not just for me, but also for my mother, because I wanted people to know that she was not just a statistic. She was not just a stereotype. I wanted to shatter the misconceptions that people who have children when they're still in high school don't amount to anything. So this award is not just for me. It is honoring all the people who are at McCaskey and they were either trying to find their McCaskey moment, they were defined by their McCaskey moment, or they're still looking for their McCaskey moment. So this brings joy to my heart. I am deeply honored. I am pleasured, and honestly, a little bit emotional that McCaskey and the fellow friends and alumni saw something in me that they thought that it was deserving to honor me. So 20 years getting out of McCaskey, this by far is not only my McCaskey moment, it is a moment that I'll remember for the rest of my life. Thank you so much for everyone who nominated, gave me a nod, but more importantly, thought that I was good fit to be established and honored as a JP McCaskey alumni. I am forever grateful.
Thank you, Quinn, and congratulations once again. Our next presenter for the evening is the McCaskey Band Director and another alumnus from JP McCaskey High School, Mr. Tom Mumma.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Tonight's second Distinguished Alumni Award recipient was my classmate in the great McCaskey class of 1998. Now, truth be told, when Jeremiah informed me that Julio Cotto had been selected for this award, my reaction was very simple. What were you thinking? Julio, I'm quite disappointed that the ceremony is virtual because Frank Magni and I wanted to sit in the front row and heckle you on your big night. But in all seriousness, this award could not go to a more deserving individual. The son of the Reverend Irving and Lillian Cotto, Julio Irving Cotto was born in Reading, Pennsylvania, October 4th, 1980. His family relocated to Lancaster in 1983 as his father took over El Redentor, which is now the New Creation United Methodist Church. Julio became a part of the school district of Lancaster as a sixth grader at E.R. Martin Elementary School. Now, by the time he reached McCaskey, Julio was involved in too many extracurricular activities to name, but a highlight is that he became the speech and debate champion for the state of Pennsylvania for poetry and prose. He was also an active member of the McCaskey Theater Department and the Music Department, which is how he and I got to know each other so well. Julio has been working with youth since college in the areas of leadership development, college readiness, and the arts. In 1997, he became the first Pennsylvanian to participate with the National Hispanic Institute, NHI. Established in 1979, NHI trains and develops asset-based community and civil leaders. In over 40 years, NHI has worked with more than 100,000 youth, including national figures like the Good Doctor and La Brea, actor Nick Gonzalez, Provost of Point Park University in Pittsburgh, Dr. Michael Soto, and U.S. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Julio was featured on MSNBC's Headliners speaking about his years working with AOC when she was in high school, college, and as a youth professional. He joined NHI in 2002 after graduating from Boston University, leading the organization's expansion to the East Coast and Puerto Rico, opening summer programs at Villanova University, Cabrini University, and the University of Puerto Rico, and St. Mary's College in Maryland. He has served as NHI's Senior Vice President since 2011, overseeing training, volunteer mobilization, and curriculum design, having personally worked with more than 30,000 youth. In addition to NHI, Julio worked in New York City promoting financial literacy and entrepreneurship as the Director of Community Initiatives for Junior Achievement of New York. With JA of New York, he led a special effort to increase volunteer opportunities among Latino business people and programming for Hispanic youth. In 2011, he helped co-found and direct the short-lived Kingsbridge Innovative Design Charter School in the Bronx. All the while, Julio has volunteered with the Methodist Church Division of Global Ministries, Phi Iota Alpha Fraternity, and various other national nonprofits and small businesses. Julio has continued his love of the arts, having performed and recorded with the Boston University Marsh Chapel Choir, the Boston Bach Ensemble, and has been one of the longtime musical directors of the Puerto Rican Cultural Center in Austin. Having continued a love of literature and that was fostered here at McCaskey, Julio has been published in his graduate school alma mater, St. Edward's University's Soaring Oak Review, as well as the Third Reality publications. He produces various podcasts and is actively working on 2 manuscripts for later publication. He lives in Austin, Texas with his wife Myra, Patricia Cortez Cotto, and his 6-year-old daughter, Sophia. Without further ado, it is my honor to present the second award of the evening to Julio Cobo, class of 1998, who comes to us now from Austin, Texas.
Good evening, McCaskey family. Buenas noches, familia de McCaskey. I accept this honor with the deepest appreciation to the McCaskey Alumni Association for recognizing me for my work since graduating. I've always been a proud Lancastrian and proud McCaskey alumnus, and I'm glad to have made the school community proud with my personal contributions to the world. I'm humbled and thankful because so much of who I am, who I've become, what I've experienced and learned was forged in the halls of McCaskey and McCaskey East. If I'm not mistaken, I'm a member of the class that did 9th grade in the old junior high system, 10th grade in the renovated JP, junior year at East, and we were the first class to graduate from the renovated auditorium we were scheduled to be in today. Special shout out to the class of 1997, 99, 2000, and especially the class of 1998. Together we made some incredible memories and impacted each other's lives in so many ways. Thank you to everyone who crossed my path, because I learned something from each and every one of you. I would have wanted to be with you and celebrate this among my fellow honorees and friends, family, but of course, we're all still being vigilant and extra careful as we hopefully are at the end of this global health challenge. I was looking forward to being in the hallways and reflecting on my journey in life, reflecting on a world that was just a few years from being transformed by the horrors of 9/11, reflecting on being part of a generation that first started using the internet daily, the generation that saw our parents getting some of the first cell phones and having a fancy high school with multicast and streaming capabilities, almost so much technology in the new school that we didn't even know how to use it all. I look back on my life since graduating in May of 1998 and have to appreciate so much of what happened next, because it all happened as a result of my McCaskey experience. For almost 15 years, I've worked as a part of the international leadership team at the National Hispanic Institute and have called Austin, Texas my home 2 different times for almost 20 years. In my years, and I'm pretty confident that it's still that same way today, for being part of a small city, a county known for Amish history, agriculture, a colonial and indigenous past, Lancaster and McCaskey have found ways for all of us to experience the world at such a young age. It was through McCaskey that I explored literature beyond the European classics. It was through McCaskey that I competed with my peers in activities across the nation in Detroit, Boston, Orlando, Baltimore. It was through McCaskey that you could sing and play gospel on one day, perform a motet that was hundreds of years old on another day, rehearse jazz standards on another day, and yet another day be dancing salsa and merengue with your friends on stage celebrating McCaskey's cultural diversity in the student body. It was at McCaskey that you could be an AP, music, creative writing, athletics, theater, and be a peer mentor all in the same year. It was at McCaskey that a counselor took an opportunity to nominate a student, me, and I cannot thank Ms. Rohr enough for taking 5 minutes to pull me out of class to encourage me to apply to admission to the National Hispanic Institute. Life has really never been the same since that spring of 1997. Not only did I grow and learn from my week with NHI in 11th grade, but it set me on a career and life path to develop and expand leadership development opportunities for thousands of youth throughout the Americas. Since that time, I'm proud that McCaskey students and others throughout Pennsylvania and the East Coast have benefited from these leadership growth opportunities and college readiness opportunities, and building global networks like I did, all because I was part of a school culture that valued learning inside and outside of the classroom. In my professional career, I've worked with tens of thousands of high school students who not only aspire to go to great colleges, build great careers, but who are driven to make positive change in their communities through their leadership. Even though the pandemic raged on, the work continued. Part of my work has allowed me to access hundreds of high schools throughout the Americas, small, large, urban, rural, wealthy schools with large foundations, under-resourced schools that struggle to get by year to year, themed charter schools, specialized programs, and all the time I would compare these high schools to McCaskey. And I know I'm biased, but I have yet to find many schools throughout the Americas that actually have the vast opportunities to their students that were afforded to me at McCaskey. From afar, from social media, newsletters, the news, friends from back home, I continue to see and know that being a part of the McCaskey life is being a part of a place where cultures, all faiths, all colors, our creeds, and traditions are celebrated and honored. As someone who did not always see a lot of faces that looked like mine or names that sounded like mine in the halls of McCaskey, I accept this honor as an opportunity to be a name in the hallway that honors communities like mine that are also a part of McCaskey and Lancaster's more recent or more modern history. I cannot thank the community enough. For those of you walking the halls again daily, for those of you in your final months of being in high school, or for those of you that are making your earliest memories of high school, I encourage you to take advantage of the vast opportunities that McCaskey and Lancaster offer beyond your home, beyond your block, beyond the walls of your scheduled classes. Join a new club this year. Start a new club this year. Ask about programs like NHI in the summer or during the holidays. Take advantage of having a public university and a top liberal arts college in your town. Take advantage of the different extracurriculars, competitions, and experiences that maybe have gone dormant but are very much a part of McCaskey's history and legacy. Get involved. Do something that you're not already doing today. If you're a member of the alumni community, I challenge you to log on and find an old friend this evening. Call an old classmate. Write an email to a teacher that might still be teaching or recently retired. Our McCaskey community is full of so many amazing souls that to this day, despite the fact that I haven't lived in Lancaster in quite some time, in my moments of darkness, in my moments of happiness and joy, moments where I needed strong counsel, a prayer, a good laugh, or someone to commiserate a terrible Eagles loss with, I call friends from home. I call my fellow McCaskey tornadoes. The internet has certainly evolved since 1998, so reach out, rebuild, or deepen at least one McCaskey connection this year. I assure you, you will not regret it because I treasure it daily. Finalmente, a la comunidad hispana latina de Lancaster y McCaskey, como padre, hago siempre el esfuerzo de enseñarle a mi hija lo bonito e importante que es nuestra cultura, nuestras tradiciones, nuestra fe, nuestras historias, nuestra herencia. Para mí no solo fue en la casa que desarrollé mi orgullo de ser latino, de ser parte de mi comunidad. Fue en esta comunidad bella de Lancaster y McCaskey que mi identidad y creencias culturales fueron desarrolladas. Gracias por darme experiencias y lecciones que todavía uso cada día, y gracias por ser parte de mi familia. Espero que más nombres como el mío sigan siendo parte del legado de esta escuela y comunidad. Again, I sincerely thank the association for this award. It is the honor of a lifetime, and I take it as an opportunity to do more good in the world, to do the honor. Hail to thee, McCaskey High.
Thank you, Julio, and once again, congratulations. The presenter of our next award for the evening is a Lancaster County probation officer and a member of the class of 1986. He's also on the reunion committee and serves as a class reunion agent. And those are the folks who are responsible for organizing all the class reunions that occur within the McCaskey Alumni Association. So without further ado, I'll introduce Mr. Dan Vasquez.
The third award of the evening goes to a lifelong resident of Lancaster County who grew up with a love for Lancaster city life. As a graduate from J.P. McCaskey in 1986, she was the vice president of her class, captain of the track and field hockey teams, played the flute and band, and was a member of student council. Following graduation, she joined the workforce at R&R Donnelly, but quickly realized she wanted to do more. She began probing a career in corrections while attending Millersville University. After receiving her bachelor's degree in psychology, Lancaster County Prison was a seamless opportunity to use the skills learned and start her journey to leadership. Beginning as a correctional officer in 1995, she was a trailblazer and quickly progressed through the ranks, becoming a sergeant in 2001, promoted to lieutenant in 2013, and advancing to major in 2015. Ultimately, in March of 2016, Cheryl Steberger was appointed the first female warden in Lancaster County history, receiving a 7-0 vote from Prison Board, an accomplishment most profound. Warden Cheryl Steberger has devoted her life to developing leadership opportunities in the prison and in the community. Having a passion for the people she serves, Steberger continuously strives to encourage all those she encounters to lead and succeed. Cheryl is supported by her loving husband of 17 years, Rodney Simeon, and she is the proud mother of her son, Steve, who is currently serving in the United States Air Force. I'm proud to present the 2021 Distinguished Alumni Award to my classmate, Cheryl Steberger.
Good evening, everyone. So grateful, so honored, so blessed to have received this award, to be part of the alumni of J.P. McCaskey. I just recently received news of this, like not too long ago, so a little overwhelmed about it, but truly honored. I have stayed a member of Lancaster community all my life, going to the Lancaster school districts, and then of course on to J.P. McCaskey, graduated from Millersville, and then here to the big castle on King Street, Lancaster County Prison, where I became the first female warden. I definitely can tell you that my leadership skills that I acquired at McCaskey have helped me in this position and in all my positions here at Lancaster County Prison. So I'm class vice president, captain of the field hockey team and track team, and on the student council. At one point, I was able to help select the assistant principal for my class. So great leadership skills that I acquired, and all the tremendous teachers and coaches and everybody that were a part of my life, all my friends. So it definitely had an impact on who I am today. And I just wanted to mention that one of the big inspirations in my life at JP at McCaskey during my tenure there was Buddy Glover. He was actually my class principal from 10th through 12th, and when I actually was promoted here as warden, he sent me a very nice and sincere card that I still hold on to this day. It's actually on my desk in my office. So definitely, one of those great leaders that helped me become the leader that I am today. I work with many graduates of McCaskey, so I'm blessed throughout the county. There are many of us, and I was honored to be able to call my son and tell him this, to honor my family who is here with me this evening. So once again, I can't only but thank you from the bottom of my heart for this award.
Thank you, Cheryl, and congratulations once again. The presenter of the evening's fourth award is a member of the McCaskey class of 1978. Many of you will remember him as McCaskey's former IB coordinator, as well as the executive director of the Lancaster Education Foundation. He now serves as the CEO of Allegro Orchestra Lancaster. From the class of 1978, I now welcome Mr. Paul Richard.
Thank you, Jeremiah. I am pleased that it was my pleasure to nominate the evening's next honoree. Several years ago, I heard David Kerr speak, and I believed him to be deserving of McCaskey's Distinguished Alumni Award. David Scott Kerr, class of 1975, is an experienced hospital administrator, currently serving an international investment group. David is charged with designing a new state-of-the-art healthcare system in the Central American country of Honduras. The goal is to bring the population of Honduras, more than 10 million people, 80% of whom live in poverty, access to an elevated level of health care, regardless of their social standing or economic barrier. Upon its completion, the system will add 35,000 medical professionals serving in care teams across 5 regional tertiary care hospitals with advanced care and specialists, 9 community hospitals, and 140 clinics. In 2010, shortly after an earthquake in Haiti, David felt a calling to assist the island country. He found himself rebuilding the radiology department at the National Hospital in Port-au-Prince. David secured millions of dollars in medical equipment and also spearheaded a countrywide shoe drive for children. Additionally, David assisted in building a new hospital in Haiti's southern region. Following the donation of a CT scanner to a hospital in Honduras, David made the first of what would be 100 trips to the country. Subsequently, he assisted in the rebuilding of the radiology department at the Honduras National Teaching Hospital, led teaching brigades, established the first radiology residency program in the country, and procured donations of more than $12 million in medical equipment. David has also served as an administrative consultant for numerous hospitals throughout Honduras. In addition to his healthcare system design role, he is the CEO of Cornerstone Healthcare Consulting, building a private comprehensive clinic in Honduras as the prototype for future clinics and training facilities. David serves as CEO of Images of Hope, a non-governmental organization designed to incorporate PACS technology. PACS is Picture Archiving and Communication Systems. He's recruited hundreds of remote radiologist positions around the world to read X-ray films, CT scans, and other images from Honduras. These efforts seek to reduce the deaths of over 35,000 Hondurans each year due to inadequate radiological services. David is a servant administrator whose role is to coordinate and facilitate professional resources for medical care teams, enabling them to provide state-of-the-art care delivered with compassion. It is fitting that we now present the next award of the evening to my friend, David Scott Kerr, class of 1975. We will hear from him now.
Good evening to all. I'm really honored to be here tonight, even though we are in COVID remoteness. I want to first extend my deep appreciation to the alumni committee that honored me with this distinction. I'm very humbled by that. I want to also thank Jeremiah Miller and his team for the kindness that they have extended to me and the hard work that they've put in, even though we're not all here together having dinner and a great time together. I can feel the spirit of J.P. McCaskey. I have a few people that I need to acknowledge and to thank, and that starts with my own class, the wonderful, great class of 1975. And I would be remiss not to say that the other classes that I had a lot of contact with and a lot of friends and learned a lot from were kids from 1973 to 1977. You know, they say that it takes a village to raise a child. I think in my case, and I think my parents would probably agree with me, that it probably has taken a metropolis to help to raise me, and I'm still feel like I'm evolving. But I also want to remember some of the teachers that had an impact on my life from McCaskey. And first of all, from the English department, I think of the names of Dennis Schmid, Inez Long, Morris Crape, Donna Cooey, and in the drama department, once again, Donna Cooey, Cynthia Dinsmore, the music department, which I was proud to be a part of for both drama and musicals, included Orville Kahn, and many of you remember fondly Don Trossel. So, you know, I am proud that I've been a member of the Lancaster community and continue to be, even though I don't live here anymore. I'm proud that I was a graduate of McCaskey. I'm proud that I was a member of a fantastic church, that I went to both church and school with probably, maybe a dozen to 24 kids, that we were a family, both on Sundays, weekends, and also while we were here in McCaskey. So, you know, I've been thinking a lot about what makes somebody distinguished. And I don't really feel like I'm a distinguished person, but I feel what I have been blessed with is I've been able to be around a lot of distinguished people. Many of you have probably already read some of my bio, know that I spend time in abroad, specifically for the last 11 years in Honduras, doing work in healthcare development. And I've got to tell you, I was a little concerned when Jeremiah told me that I was going to have to make some remarks, because I was afraid he was going to ask me to make some remarks in Spanish. Well, I can tell you that hopefully there is no microfilm that exists that talks about my Spanish career in McCaskey, because I did not do very well at all. And so please don't anybody go searching for it, or else I may have to write you a check to keep that secret hidden. I've once again to pick up on the whole idea about what makes somebody distinguished is the people that you are associated with. I got involved in healthcare around 30 some years ago, was involved in a number of positions here in the States, mostly in New York, both New York City and upstate New York. And what distinguished me among those at that time was not myself, but was the incredible healthcare providers that I was around. And there is a long list of doctors that I can talk about that have had an impact on my life. Those are the distinguished people. Those are the people that should be celebrated today. And I'm blessed to be a part of their lives. And now I'm blessed to be a part of a group of distinguished doctors and nurses in the country of Honduras. Previous to that in Haiti and in some other areas around the world. And these are the people that really have made me who I am. If you were a member of the class of 1975, you will recall that we probably had the stormiest graduation of any class that ever graduated in the 90-some years of McCaskey. They were close to being tornado conditions. Obviously, we didn't have a graduation outside. It was held inside. And I was selected to be the alternate graduation speaker. And I had to memorize my speech. I never gave my speech because I was the alternate. But I was really blessed by that in a couple of ways. One is that I got to sit on the stage, not with my class, but with my father, who actually gave the invocation that night. And not many kids can say that. Excuse me, but that's a memory that I carry with me. But that night, as the alternate graduation speaker, I was to be held in reserve in case somebody couldn't give their speech. And as I said, I had memorized the speech. I was tempted to share the speech with you tonight, but it's a little bit more than the 5 or 6 minutes that I've been allotted for this time. And I think I'd be embarrassed to even present that speech now at this point in my life. But as we waited in the hallway, and it was very humid, the thundering clouds were going on, the wind was blowing, and we waited in the hallways of McCaskey by the lockers. And Donna Cooey came up to me and she said, one of the speakers isn't sure that he feels up to making the speech. I was blessed because I had the opportunity to be in musicals and plays and so forth. So I was a little bit more used to stage presence. And she said, I think you're going to have to give the speech. Well, I must admit, I thought for a second, it'd be great to give the speech. But I asked where that individual was. And of course, we were all standing in different lines and all. So I went back to where that person was. And I said to him, you can do this. You can step up and you can do this. And that was probably where I learned probably one of the most important lessons of my life, is that it's not what we do, it's how we encourage other people to do things. And he got up that night and gave an incredible speech. But the lesson that I learned that night was to carry on that act of encouragement to others throughout my life. And at times I've done better at that than others. And I've taken that into the world that I live in now. I am not a clinician. There was a period of time where I didn't even want to have to go into an OR or into an emergency room, even though I worked in hospitals, because the sight of blood would make me actually feel faint. I've had to get over that over the last few years, especially working overseas. But that has been what my job is. My job is to support and to encourage others and to be a servant to those people, especially the doctors who take care of those patients every day. And that is all what I feel my life is about today and what it will be about in the future. It's all about servanthood. Yes, we want to do other things in Honduras. As I speak, we're literally putting together financing for a 45,000 square foot facility. We're looking at expanding imaging around the entire country, which is a very, very poor country. It's a country of about 80% of the people live in poverty. And we're looking, along with international groups, about how can we build new hospitals, how can we build new clinics, and how can we bring preventive medicine to the country of Honduras, and hopefully set up plans that will then be taken around the world. But it's all about working with other people and encouraging them to move forward with the process. And I just want to end with telling a little story about 5-6 years ago. I was involved with it at our public hospital, a large public hospital in Honduras. It's a 1,300 bed hospital. I was involved with starting the first radiology residency program in the country of Honduras. And the first year, I tried to spend a lot of time around the residents in the radiology department and trying to learn about what their curriculum was, observing and so forth. And one of the residents invited me into a procedure, which I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but she was dealing with a patient whose name I'll say was Jose. And Jose was a man who was probably about my age at the time, but he looked like he was about 85 or 90 years old. And Jose was having a pre-imaging procedure that was going to determine whether Jose was going to have his leg amputated or not. And so as I stood there, I felt a little bit out of place. And even though I was in scrubs and I looked like I was a doctor, but with my red hair, I kind of stand out a little bit in Honduras, and people wonder who I am. And as I stood there, the resident encouraged me to talk to Jose because it was a very, very painful procedure. And I have to tell you, at that point, we had no anesthesia in the hospital at all. There was no anesthesia in the country at that point. And this man had to endure incredible pain. And as we stood there, I grabbed Jose's hand and he grabbed my hand and held it very, very tightly. And I got very, very close to him and was just trying to talk to him and offer him as much calmness as possible and empathy. And the doctor was encouraging me to do that. And after a while, Jose started to sing a song in Spanish. And I did understand a little bit of the song. And it was a song he made up. And he was singing a song about me and thanking me for what I was doing to help him. And at the end of his song, he pulled his head up, which was very difficult to do, and he gave me a kiss on the cheek. And I really didn't know how to respond. I was filled with a lot of emotion at that point. And so I actually decided I should sing a song back to him. So in our church, when we take an offering or we celebrate a blessing, we sing the doxology. And the doxology, as many of you might know, is basically goes, "Praise God from whom all blessings flow." I won't complete the whole doxology, but I sang that back to Jose. And for that one moment in time, it didn't matter that we were from different countries. It did not matter that he was a very poor man. Nothing mattered. It's the fact that we connected as human beings at that point, and we connected through the grace of God at that point. And to sum things up, that's what this school has meant to me. This school put me on a path of understanding diversity, of understanding acceptance of others, and putting that into play into my life. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart to everyone here that may be listening to this. And certainly I need to make a pitch that if you're interested in knowing more about working in a mission field or working in Honduras or any place, you feel free to get in touch with me. I'd love to talk to you more about it. But once again, I thank you. This has been a true blessing, and I love you all, and I ask God's blessing on you and your families.
Thank you, David. And our final Distinguished Alumni Award presenter of the evening is appropriately a theater teacher here at McCaskey. It's my pleasure to welcome Lakisha Welch.
Hello, and thank you for having me. The final Distinguished Alumni Award this evening is long overdue. The reason it has taken many years for McCaskey to be able to present this award is that the recipient passed away in 1989 and was among the graduates of this high school who left Lancaster and made a career and a life on the other side of the country in California. Without any relatives close by, there was no way to offer this honor in a meaningful way. That is, until we discovered Ian Armstrong of Washington, D.C., who will accept the award this evening on behalf of his uncle, Franklin J. Schaffner, class of 1938. As a theater teacher here at McCaskey, it is my honor to present this award to Mr. Schaffner, who began his theater career as Mr. Darcy in Pride and Prejudice, the first play ever to be presented at McCaskey. He quickly made his way to Hollywood, where he would direct more than a dozen feature films, including the original Planet of the Apes, starring Charlton Heston, Papillon, starring Dustin Hoffman and Steve McQueen, and Patton, starring George C. Scott, for which Mr. Schaffner won the 1971 Best Director Academy Award. All told, his films were nominated for more than 30 Oscars. After attending McCaskey, Schaffner became the third generation of his family to graduate from Franklin and Marshall College. In keeping with plans to attend Columbia University Law School, he majored in government and English at F&M. While in college, he won the Junior Oratorical Prize, was senior class orator, and president of the John Marshall Law Club. Schaffner also became president of F&M's Green Room Theater Club and appeared in 11 of their main stage productions. While in college, he worked part-time as a radio announcer for WGAL and as a movie house usher at Lancaster's Hamilton Theater, then located on North Queen Street. After graduating from F&M in 1942, his plans to attend Columbia University were halted by World War II. During the war, he served as a lieutenant in the United States Army with the amphibious forces in Normandy, Italy, Sicily, and Africa. He also served with the Office of Strategic Services in the India, Burma, and China theater. Indeed, Schaffner found himself in the television broadcasting industry in 1948, the very dawn of its existence, simultaneously an expert and creator of the medium. He made his mark directing programs on CBS, such as broadcasts of the 1948 political conventions and Edward R. Murrow's Person to Person. He also pioneered the bygone nighttime drama, directing more than 150 live teleplays featuring many of the most skillful actors of the day, many of those who would later star in his feature films. Schaffner won 4 Emmys for his television work. Schaffner, class of 1938, made his Broadway debut in 1960 with Advised and Consent, starring Ed Bigley. Set in the not-so-distant future, the play followed a U.S. Senate subcommittee investigation of a prospective Secretary of State, serving as a behind-the-scenes glimpse at Washington, D.C. politics. The reviews were glowing. On Valentine's Day, February 14, 1962, Franklin J. Schaffner directed Jacqueline Kennedy's tour of the newly renovated White House in a television special broadcast to over 80 million viewers in 50 countries. Schaffner, who Jackie Kennedy later called the best director in the world, won the 1962 Directorial Achievement Award from the Directors Guild of America and was co-recipient, along with Mrs. Kennedy, of the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences Trustees Award for this collaboration. Later, President Kennedy requested Schaffner's consultation regarding acoustics and lighting for his press conferences and preparation for his Cuban Missile Crisis address to the nation. Schaffner soon moved to Hollywood, where he directed more than a dozen feature films, including his Academy Award-winning Patton. He succumbed to cancer on July 2nd, 1989, before his final film was released. Launched in 1991 by Franklin Schaffner's wife of 40-plus years, Jean Gilchrist Schaffner, the Franklin J. Schaffner Alumni Medal is awarded annually to an alumnus of either the AFI Conservatory or the AFI Conservatory Directing Workshop for Women, who best embodies the qualities of the late director, talent, taste, dedication, and commitment to quality of quality filmmaking. David Lynch, director of The Elephant Man and Twin Peaks, was its first recipient. Other filmmaking professionals who have received the honor include Amy Heckerling, Terrence Malick, Darren Aronofsky, and most recently, the prolific music video director, Melina Matsoukas. Meanwhile, Schaffner's legacy remains strong in Lancaster, where F&M offers an annual award in Schaffner's name. It is now my privilege to present this award for Franklin J. Schaffner to his nephew, Mr. Ian Armstrong, who comes to us now from Washington, D.C.
Thank you so much for inviting me to speak today. Thank you, Principal Justin Reese, the McCaskey Campus Administration, President Jane Appleyard, and the McCaskey Alumni Association Advisory Board, and all McCaskey students for the day's honors. And thank you to Jeremiah Miller for allowing me to somewhat recast this Alumni Award as a tribute to all 3 Schaffner siblings, Louise, Isabelle, and Franklin, because they truly were a team. Good people who do great things are not accidents. They do not evolve in a vacuum. People, place, and time are what mold us into complete beings. My grandmother, Sarah Sword Schaffner, was born in Lancaster in 1891. She both attended and later taught Lancaster Public School. She married the Reverend Paul Franklin Schaffner, graduate of F&M and the Reformed Church Theological Seminary, and together they served for 10 years as missionaries for the United Church of Christ. They were posted to Japan, where they had their 3 children, Louise, Franklin, and Isabelle. Tragically, Paul died at the age of 35 of a bacterial infection. So Sarah returned to Lancaster, a widow with 3 small children. Martha Louise was 9, Franklin James 5, and Isabelle Rhodes was 4. She was compensated to some extent by the church, but she also ended up working for Armstrong Cork as an interior designer and in advertising, and she later returned to teaching. My mother, Martha Louise, was the eldest, and she set a pretty stiff pace. After graduation from Stevens High School, which was the precursor to McCaskey, in 1934, she attended Wellesley College. And at the start of the war, she was working for Look magazine and Life magazine in New York City. She joined the Foreign Service in 1943 in the middle of the war, and she was posted to India while the war was still raging there, where she served until 1947. During that time, she experienced India's independence, the dismantling of the British Raj system and culture, and she met Gandhi and shared a stage with him. In 1948, she was transferred to another hot spot, then Czechoslovakia, where through 1949 she experienced the Soviet takeover and the coup d'etat, and her activities on behalf of Friends of Václav Havel got her labeled a spy, declared persona non grata, and thrown out of the country. Her photograph ended up on the front page of the Herald Tribune. This did not seem to hurt her career. In fact, her career thrived very quickly, and she advanced vice consul in Palermo and consul in Montreal, Canada, which is where she met and married my dad, who was also a Foreign Service officer, Willis Armstrong. At that time, it was policy that a married couple could not both be serving officers, so my mom had to retire. But together they made a great team, and she continued to serve the U.S. government as wife to an ambassador, as wife to an assistant secretary of state, and I think her favorite post in London, she was wife to the economic minister of the Court of St. James. They changed this rule in 1973, and they reinstated all of the officers who'd been affected and waived their retirement age. So my mom went back to work at the State Department and worked there well until her 70s. Franklin James was the middle child and equally driven as his sister. He was McCaskey High School's valedictorian in the inaugural class of 1938, and he stayed local, attending Franklin and Marshall. When the war came, he joined the Navy, and as executive officer of a landing craft, he experienced war from the front lines during the invasions of North Africa and Italy. It was a miracle that he survived. On at least one occasion, he was one of only 2 survivors of a ship that went down. But these Schaffners were always a stubborn bunch. It is well noted that Franklin's post-war career in film and television was remarkable for its depth and its breadth. From sports to live television to blockbuster films, he was adept at many different forms of recorded entertainment, and indeed helped create the visual iconography we all now take for granted. But his commitment to service did not end once he was an established film director. He was a dedicated union member, serving as president of the Directors Guild of America and helping them become one of the strongest and smartest unions in the entertainment industry. He also served for years on the National Council for the National Endowment of the Arts and was on the board of the American Film Institute, the AFI, at a crucial time in their development. He worked for the whole industry, not just for himself. Isabelle Rhodes was the youngest and was the quiet one, but no less stubborn and driven. She went to medical school at Temple University and earned her degree in psychiatry at a time which was very rare for women to be doing. At the end of the war, she joined the staff of St. Elizabeth's Hospital in Washington, D.C., the largest and most significant hospital of its kind at the time, the U.S. government's hospital for mental illness. She saw all the horrors of war come home. She was crucial to identifying, naming, and classifying mental illness on a national scale. In other cases, she had to deal with celebrity inmates, such as the poet Ezra Pound, who avoided treason charges for activities during the war by living at St. Elizabeth's Hospital for 20 years, and he attracted a lot of press. But for the most part, her career was of the academic and medical pursuit of looking into the abyss of the human psyche and bringing back the truth. She never had a private practice. She worked for 30 years for the U.S. government, helping the sickest of the sick. No best-selling exposés, but rather the deep and abiding respect of her peers and recognition that she was a pioneer in her field, both as a woman and a doctor. Isabelle personally was my buddy. She loved to laugh and to travel, and she had a crush on Mstislav Rostropovich of the National Symphony Orchestra, and she would yell out "Pooks," the name of his dog, before a performance, just so that he would know that Dr. Schaffner was in the house. I'm glad she made good use of her degree in psychiatry. Personally, I learned how to be myself and how to be on a team from these 3 people. A favorite memory I have, which speaks volumes about them, is attending the premiere of Yes, Giorgio at the Kennedy Center here in Washington, D.C., my uncle's comedy starring Luciano Pavarotti. The 4 of us stood to the side by the bar while there was a lot of commotion and press swarming over various celebrities, Linda Carter, Donald Sutherland, and various people who weren't even in the film. And they were engaging in the limelight, but nobody bothered us. And they were content to sit on the sidelines and watch. They wanted the best that life had to offer, but they were not greedy people. They were not mean people. They were not bullies. They knew how to win gracefully, and I am grateful that some of that rubbed off on me. I, too, graduated public school, Woodrow Wilson Public High School in Washington, D.C., and I later taught public school at the Duke Ellington School for the Arts in Washington, D.C., and was drama director of the McLean Public School in Fairfax County, Virginia. I found that teaching public school, I could present the arts as a viable career option. There were scholarships to be won, and parents love scholarships. And public school is about opportunities. I have former students who have won Emmy Awards, like Dave Chappelle and Dan Mandel, and others who might soon, like Keila Packett, who is currently on NCIS Hawaii, which is on this week. And the comedian, Ramin Mustafavi, who seems to be appearing everywhere nowadays. And many, many other students who've become staunch union members and are in the industry on all levels. Thanks to my uncle and my relation to him, I got the experience of making television at the highest level. Ethel Wynant hired me in the 1990s, and I worked for her and director John Frankenheimer at TNT Films on projects that garnered 9 Emmy Awards. Ethel knew Franklin from live television in New York and in the 1950s, and by that time she herself had become a legendary producer and casting genius, responsible for such shows as The Mary Tyler Moore Show and All in the Family and some of the golden age of CBS television. And John Frankenheimer is simply one of the greatest filmmakers that ever lived. It was remarkable to be around all that acquired wisdom and to have them be so generous with it, and their generosity has had a lasting impact on my life. The Schaffner siblings were not unique in their time. They had each other, Lancaster, and their mom. So when they experienced loss, war, and a rapidly changing world, they were grounded and confident and able to pursue lives of substance and service, to heal, to teach, and to show people the truth. They saw the worst that humanity can be, people being shot or blown up, mob violence and political horrors, or simply crazy people screaming all day long. And yet they thrived. They flourished. They were supported by a foundation of unity and shared responsibility. And they possessed the simple pride of being educated people. And Lancaster was home. I'm grateful to carry their DNA in me, but more grateful to carry some of that spirit forward. So I thank you for recognizing that spirit and how and where it was forged, and not simply celebrating a list of fabulous achievements, great as they may be. Thank you very much, Lancaster, and thank you, McCaskey Public School.
Thank you, Ian Armstrong, and I'd like to also give a shout out to your wife, Adrienne Nelson, who was instrumental in coordinating your participation. Thank you, Ian and Adrienne. It is my honor to present the final award of the evening. This is the 2021 Susan J. Garofola Service Award. Susan Garofola was one of my predecessors here as the alumni coordinator, and she was instrumental in the beginnings of the Lancaster Education Foundation and the McCaskey Alumni Association. The 2021 Susan J. Garofola Service Award will go to a most deserving pair, Jack and Sandy Neal. To put it simply, Jack and Sandy Neal bleed red and black. Jack was a member of the class of 1967, and he was a teacher here at McCaskey, teaching science for many years. His athletic involvement in the community came as a football coach at McCaskey, 10 years as an assistant coach and 12 years as the head coach. And he also coached football at Franklin and Marshall. He has served on the McCaskey Alumni Advisory Board since its inception in the early 90s, and many of tonight's viewers will remember Jack's wife as Ms. Schanfelder, who taught Spanish at McCaskey for 30 years. During the time that Jack has served on our board, Sandy Neal has been as present and helpful as Jack has, showing up to virtually every alumni event, from Distinguished Alumni Banquets to alumni basketball games, lending a hand at each of those events. We think of Sandy as well as an honorary board member, so thank you. It is my honor to present the 2021 Susan J. Garofola Service Award to Jack and Sandy Neal. Congratulations. I'll give that to you to hold.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Thank you, fellow board members. Thank you, all the alumni and their friends that are here for the recognition of all the awards, and also congratulations to all the award winners tonight. First, I'd like, some words that come to mind are, what are the 5 most important words in the English language? May I, please, and thank you. I've already said a couple thank yous, but thank you comes to mind particularly right now. First, thank you to Susan Garofola, the person for whom this award is given, and she was the originator, as Jeremiah said, of the Alumni Association 30 or more years ago. And so it was her vision to have a high school alumni association, and that was unheard of. And she provided a foundation that was incomparable to any. And in fact, many come back to see the McCaskey Alumni Association from other schools to see how it's run. Another thank you with that is Sherma Heights. She took over after Susan, and she built on Susan's foundation. Then a thank you to Jeremiah and his assistant director, Kathy Arnold. They took over for Sherma and have not only continued the traditional things that the Alumni Association has done, like the Distinguished Alumni Banquet, the graduation or homecoming, and there are others, traditional events, and they heightened those, but now they've also added other events, particularly the talent show, the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, the Barney Yule, both statue and plaque out in front of the school. And another key item is the alumni vidette. So Jeremiah and Kathy, a thank you goes to you. A third thank you, at least in terms of my mind, is my fellow board members. They are the ones who, first of all, nominated and selected Sandy and myself. And why? I have to ask them. But one of the things I know is the vision that Jeremiah and his predecessors had. The vision is one thing, but there needs to be elbow grease behind it. People who are willing to do lots of work. And I think both Sandy and I are people who have done lots of work, but we're not the only ones. And there's some other people on our board who their turn will come for this award. So we thank the board. Finally, I want to say, I have always liked school, whether as a student, particularly at McCaskey or elsewhere, because I've gone to schools, besides I'm talking about college level education. I've always liked school, and I've always liked being a teacher, and being a teacher at McCaskey is a real important part of not only my life, but Sandy's life. And the McCaskey Alumni Association allows us to still be part of school. So we very much appreciate that. And one final thing, most of my friends are McCaskey people, and that's good friends, people I see all the time, are McCaskey people, and it's a real strong part of both our lives. And my best friend obviously has the McCaskey connection. And finally, Jeremiah said we bleed red and black. We do. And we have that certain quality that we call tornado pride. So again, thank you everyone. That was one of the 5 most important words, 2 of the 5 most important words. But thank you very much for this award.
I would like to thank Jeremiah Miller, our coordinator of Alumni Affairs, and thanks to our viewers who tuned in this evening for this very memorable event. As those of you who have attended this event in the past know, the in-person banquet is just as magical and meaningful, and we hope this evening might inspire you to purchase a ticket to the spring event. There we will enjoy catering by Homage, operated by Chef Oliver Say, class of 1993. As I mentioned at the top of the show, our advisory board will be selecting a rain date very soon. If you received an invitation to the postponed event, you will receive another in the spring. Otherwise, please stay connected through McCaskeyalumni.org and the McCaskey Alumni Association social media to find the rain date. In the meantime, please pay a visit to the McCaskeyalumni.org anyway and become a member of the Alumni Association for a mere $25. This evening's program and others like it would not be possible without your support. On behalf of McCaskey Alumni Association Advisory Board, thank you, McCaskey family, and good night.